Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you like the video, make sure to subscribe to my channel. Let's start. Chapter 1. Demon of Fairy Tale. It was chaos everywhere he looked. The thing had come out of nowhere and had attacked unprovoked. It was horrific to say the least, and with its large wings it gave a small flap and half the town was blown away. A young boy was running in fear. He didn't know where he was going to run, but he knew he had to escape. His mommy and daddy had said to run and to not look back no matter what he did, and so with what his parents said in his mind, he listened. The demon reared back its head and gave another roar that shook the city to its core, making the boy trip and fall. He dropped his precious cargo his mother had told him to never let go of, and he watched as it slid across the ground. The deep bold letters END printed on the cover stood out like a sore thumb to him, but he ignored the lettering. In his young mind, this book was something his mother had been guarding ever since she was a little girl, so he never really understood what its true purpose was meant to be, as he never asked what the book was about. He stood up and grabbed the book and started running again, and he remembered. Run and don't look back no matter what. The demon swiped its tail and knocked down several blocks of the city, causing the ground to shake, and he collapsed once again, clutching the book tightly so he didn't lose it lest he make his mother angry. Standing up, he keeps running, ignoring the exhaustion in his bones. He makes it to the tree line where the forest that surrounds his home meets the buildings and continues to run. Suddenly, a particularly loud roar from the demon drew his young mind's attention, causing him to look back. The demon was in the air with its drew back while it gathered its magic within its mouth. With a loud roar, the demon released the magic where it crashed into the ground and quickly expanded into a dome of white. It literally stopped inches away from his body as the shockwave hit him and sent him flying through the air with a yell of surprise where he crashed into a tree. He could feel his arms snap, but his fear of being vaporized by this demon that had appeared from thin air. He looked around and spotted the book and grabbed it with his good arm and continued to run, ignoring the pain in his broken bones, hoping, praying that he would escape the demon. The demon then flew over him and he stopped, fearing that he would be next. He hid behind a tree. He waited for the demon to sniff him out and finish him off. The deathly blows didn't come, and he could hear its distant roars from far away. Peeking out from behind his shelter of the tree, he could see the dark-winged demon fly off, and it didn't look back. Somehow he knew that from the amount of power that the creature had used in its final attack had left no survivors. His mother, his father, his friends, all of them were gone. Forever. He had been sleeping peacefully when the creature had attacked his home, but he could never figure out why it had attacked. He looked down at the book in his hands and sat it down gently with his good arm and opened it. The words were readable, but he was only 6, so half of the words made no sense to him at all. However, he could read that there were spells in here. Powerful spells that could kill even the likes of something called the Black Dragon. He looked at the demon as it slowly flew away, and he noticed. It was black. And it was a dragon. So it wasn't a demon that had attacked, but rather a dragon that had done the deed. He then looked at the book and then nodded his head. His resolve had been written in stone. He would kill it and get the vengeance his country needed. He continued to read what he could, and he gasped in shock. The bold words stuck out to him like a sore thumb. Acnologia was created with the sole purpose of being a challenge for my creation END, and he shall one day fall by his hand. The black dragon of the apocalypse shall not know what hit him. He continued to read and then looked over the spells. There were literally dozens of spells he could use. However, from what he could see, they were either lightning, fire, or water spells. This was good. With these spells he could one day get the job that this END was supposed to do, and he would kill all things related to this man Zareth, and he wouldn't let anybody stop him. He closed the book and latched the little lock and turned the key to where the book was locked tightly. Removing the key, he placed the chain it was on around his neck, and the key dangled there around his neck, securely unmovable, untouchable to all who dared try and take it. With his cargo secure, he continued to make his way from his now destroyed home towards the unknown parts of the world. His adventure had just begun. As he was walking, it started to rain, causing him to grumble about a double whammy. However, the sound of sniffling gained his attention, causing him to turn. In an instant he was starstruck by her. He didn't understand what he was feeling, but he would find out. She looked to him and then quickly began to run through the cold rain, her umbrella shielding her from the frigid water that came raining down. Wait! He called out to her. Chasing after her, he quickly caught up, only to trip on a root where he released the book, causing him to fall while the book slid away. He screamed as he fell on his broken arm, and he screamed in pain. Hearing him fall and then scream in what sounded like pain, the blue-haired girl stopped running and turned around. She could see him clutching his arm tightly as he tried to quell the pain. He then looked at the book he had dropped and slowly made his way towards it on his knees, as the pain he was feeling was like nothing he had ever felt. The adrenaline rush he had been feeling as he had been running on when he was fleeing had faded. He gingerly grabbed the book to his chest with his broken arm. The rain lightened up and he looked up. And there she was. "Hey, are you okay?" she asked timidly. Naruto shook his head. "No, not really. My arm, it's broken," he said to her. "Well, we should." Then she remembered. That thing had appeared and wiped out her home. There was no doctors anywhere, anymore. "It's okay, just snap it back into place. It actually wouldn't be the first time this happened, so go ahead and do it," he said as he took the book back into his good hand and slowly lifted up the broken appendage to her. "Why you want me to?" she started to say, but he nodded his head, showing he wanted her to re-break his arm. "Oh, okay, here goes," she said as she sat her umbrella down and grasped his arm. With a loud snap, his arm had been set. He groaned in pain, but otherwise his arm was fine. "Thanks for that," he said. The girl nodded her head to show he was welcome. He then looked at her aquamarine eyes. "So, what's your name?" he asked her. She gave him a light blush. My name is Juvia Lockser. And you are?" she asked him. "Naruto Uzumaki. It's nice to meet you, Juvia-chan," Naruto said as he introduced himself to Juvia. Juvia blushed harder when she heard him call her Juvia-chan, and looked away embarrassed. "It's nice to meet you too, Naruto-san," she said to him. Naruto stood up and grabbed Juvia's umbrella and handed it to her, where she mumbled her silent thanks. "What's with all this rain?" Naruto asked as the two of them began walking. The nearest city was literally miles away in Oak Town. How were they going to make it there when they didn't have anything to eat or drink? "It's because Juvia has no control of her magic. Juvia is the cause of the rain," Juvia said sadly. Naruto looked at her with wide eyes. "Really, that's so cool. I wish I had the power to make it rain," Naruto said, causing Juvia to gain wide eyes. "Why, you don't mind the rain?" she asked, while Naruto shook his head no, showing he didn't mind the water. "Why would I be bothered by a little water? This is really awesome, Juvia-chan," Naruto said again. Juvia blushed hard at what the blonde boy was saying about her having control over the rain, and it lightened up. "You really don't mind that Juvia has this kind of power?" she asked again. "Heck no, if anything I wish I had a magic that was like this," he admitted to the girl. Juvia looked at his arm to see if it was properly set, and she could see it wasn't. "We need to get to Oaktown so we can get your arm looked at," Juvia said. Naruto nodded. "I know. But how are we going to make? We have no food or water. I don't mind sleeping on the ground, but still," he said. "We'll make it some way, Naruto-sama," Juvia said. Naruto quirked an eyebrow at her. "What's with this, sama, suffix Juvia-chan?" he asked the rain girl. "Because you accept Juvia," Juvia said with a smile on her face. "Let's go, Naruto-sama, so we can get your arm looked at," she said as she dragged the blonde along with her. For 3 days the two teenagers made it to Oak Town, to where they got to a hospital. Naruto explained that his and Juvia's home had been destroyed by a demon and that they were the sole survivors of the demon's rampage. Of course the doctors were curious as to how he broke his arm, so he began to explain to them how he broke it. He then explained that he had been told to run and to not look back, and he did. The demon had then destroyed his home with a seemingly powerful attack, which the doctor accepted as he had heard rumor of that happening. When the doctor looked at Naruto's arm and saw that it had been broken and someone had attempted to reset the bone but had messed up. With that the doctor told Naruto, and once again Naruto said that Juvia had done the deed, so in the end the doctor reset his arm and placed in a cast and told him how to take care of the arm. When he was released, Naruto and Juvia were walking around the city and they saw a guild called Phantom Lord. Juvia wanted to see what they had to offer, and so with that they spoke to the master named Jose. Jose of course asked them what kind of magic they wielded, and they answered lightning and fire magic for Naruto, who hadn't had much time to brush up on his reading, but he knew a spell from the Book of End, so he was okay, and water for Juvia, who had read a bit from the Book of End as well, and she found she was really developed for water magic. Jose had to think for a moment. His last water and fire wizards had retired due to reasons unknown, so with a bit of reluctance he allowed the two to join his guild. Over the years, Naruto and Juvia became one of Phantom's name faces due to their power. Naruto went on to be known as the Demon of Phantom, and Juvia became the water goddess of Phantom due to her great control over water. When he turned 18, Naruto was inducted into the Wizard Saints and was even placed at a higher level than Jose was. Naruto had even been dared by Gajeel, the resident dragon slayer, to ask Juvia out on a date. Due to how dense he was, Naruto had never noticed that Juvia had been stalking him, so he never knew she had feelings for him. It was a sad thought really now that he thought about it. So with a shrug he asked Juvia out and she quickly accepted, almost immediately, his offer of a date. He took Juvia out to a pizzeria and they enjoyed an extra large pizza with their favorite drinks and then went to the game arcade. Naruto had to admit he had enjoyed himself, so when he dropped Juvia off at her house he asked her out on another date, which she accepted. Now he had received word that they were going to go through a guild war with their rival guild Fairy Tail. Jose explained that when they retrieved their target, who was the heir to the Heartfilia fortune, Naruto got a sickening feeling in his gut. He always knew Jose was stupid, but seriously, to start a war over money. What was Jose thinking? In Magnolia, Lucy Heartfilia had returned from a strenuous day of doing job requests. She had been punished along with Natsu and Gray for stealing the mission to Galuna, but what they went through was a bit ridiculous. She unlocked her door, only to see Natsu, Urza, Gray, who was nearly naked, and Happy all in her house. Her eyes widened in shock. "What are you guys doing in my house?" she yelled out. Natsu looks at the blonde and gives her a wave. "Oh hey Luce, how's it going?" he asked her. Urza gives her a friendly wave. "Thanks you for allowing for us to be here." The redhead tells Lucy, who just groans at their denseness. "How'd you even get in?" she asked them. "Through the window, how else?" Natsu answered. "The reason we're here is because the master doesn't want to take the chance of one of us being ambushed, so he told us that we should stay over at someone else's house for safety in numbers." Urza said, getting back on track. "So everyone is having a sleepover today," Happy declared cheerfully. Lucy walked towards the bathroom. "All right, if it's just for one night," she grumbled out, though she didn't like the idea. "Does anyone know why Phantom attacked us in the first place?" she asked. She wanted to know why they would attack Fairy Tail in the first place. Urza shook her head. "Our two guilds have never been on good terms, that this is a first," she answered her. Natsu narrowed his eyes. "I wish the old man would just let us blow them up," he grumbled out, unhappy. Lucy sat down on the couch. "Me too, Natsu, but it can't be helped," she told the Dragon Slayer. The Dragon Slayer folded his arms stubbornly like a child. "He's just scared," Natsu stated in denial. Gray scoffed. "He's not scared, Natsu. He's one of the 10 Wizard Saints. They don't get scared," he told Natsu. Lucy raised an eyebrow. 10 Wizard Saints? What's that?" she asked, as she never heard of the Wizard Saints before. Gray looked at her with a raised eyebrow. "You don't know what they are?" "The 10 Wizard Saints are handpicked by the council for being the strongest on the continent," he told Lucy. How could she not have heard of them? Strongest, huh? Sounds interesting. An old man Makarov is one of them, she asked, and everyone nodded their heads. "Yes, so he isn't scared, it's just smarter not to fight," Gray said to her. "If our guilds were to battle, it would be catastrophic," Urza added in an afterthought. Lucy raised an eyebrow. "Are they really that strong?" she asked, and they all nodded their heads yes. "Their master, Jose, holds the title of a wizard saint and has the same amount of magic power as our master," Urza said. "There's also the Elemental 4, an Iron Dragon Gajeel. He's the Iron Dragon Slayer." Natsu growled out, "Dragon Slayer? Like Natsu?" Lucy asked them, shocked to hear that there was another Dragon Slayer. "Yes, but not only do we have to worry about Gajeel and Jose, we have to worry about the Demon of Phantom," Gray said, gaining Lucy's attention. "Demon of Phantom sounds really bad," Lucy said. "Of course it does. He's a demon slayer and a powerful one at that. He's also a wizard saint like Makarov, but on a higher level, and he was 18 when they inducted him into the ranks," Happy said. "I didn't even know there was such a thing as a demon slayer," Lucy admitted. "Well, it's an incredibly rare form of magic, so it's understandable," Happy replied. Wait. Did you also say he was a wizard saint that was more powerful than even Makarov? Lucy asked as Happy nodded his head. Of course I did. He's 19 now, but his power has grown since he was inducted into the wizard saints ranking, he told the blonde. Seriously? Lucy exclaimed. Happy nodded his head. The only good thing about him is that he doesn't like to pick fights unless he is forced to. Other than that, Jose lets him wander around with his girlfriend, Urza said, getting Lucy to look at her. Why would Jose let him wander around? I mean, yeah, he's more powerful, but still. Lucy said. Let's put it this way, he hates Fairy Tail more, but he hates the fact that one of his own subordinates is not only more powerful but doesn't always follow orders. He is also dating a girl people call a goddess due to her unnatural control over water, Urza said. So there is a chance we won't have to fight him? Lucy asked, and they all shrugged. Well, there went that idea. So after talking a bit more, they all decided to call it a night. The next day, Fairy Tail would find their members in the park shackled to a tree and charge towards Oaktown with the intent to destroy Phantom. In the guild, Naruto and Gajeel were having a quiet discussion about what they were going to do when Fairy Tail got there. Gajeel, of course, said he wanted a challenge that suited him better than him getting his ass kicked constantly by Naruto, which he laughed at, but he also said he had a bad feeling. Naruto was the leader of a group called the Elemental Four. His control over fire and lightning magic was unequal to anybody in their guild, like Juvia's control over the water. Seriously, man, the way Jose is talking, it's crazy. Does he really think that Jude Heartfilia would give up all his money just to get his daughter, who ran away a year ago, I might add, back from a place she obviously likes? Gajeel asked quietly so nobody could hear. The reason they were having such a discussion was because over the past couple of weeks since they had been told that Jude wanted his daughter back, Jose had been acting really strange. The want to see you on the floor drowning in blood strange. Gajeel, this is Jose we're talking about, he's always been stupid. Hell, the only reason he accepted the damn job was so he could fill his own pockets and leave us hanging to rot after. When this war with Fairy Tail is over, I'm going to be going to a different guild, and I want you to come with me and Juvia. We could always use your power down the line. Or do you want to break up Team Prometheus? Naruto asked. Who do you take me for, some kind of wannabe Jose? Of course I'm not breaking up the team, Gajeel said. Naruto smirked. Then let's get started, Naruto said with a smirk, confusing Gajeel only for the door broke down. Gajeel jumped into the rafters while Naruto calmly walked up the stairs. He could hear the Titania Urza speaking and then hell breaking loose. Naruto decided to watch like Gajeel was while Arya walked up behind him. It's sorrowful, but I must go on with the plan, Arya said. Belay that order, Arya. I want to see where this goes, Naruto said to the man. Arya nodded his head and stood behind his leader. A few seconds later, Gajeel jumped down and began to fight, while also taking out phantom wizards, which was soon followed by Naruto, who motioned for Arya to continue with what he was doing. Enma Zero no Hakken, Fire Demon's Zeroth Destruction Fist, Naruto said as he punched Natsu away from trying to fight a phantom wizard. Seeing who was in front of him, the Fairy Tail wizards gulped. They knew they didn't stand a chance against a wizard saint, but they would fight if need be. Naruto looked at Natsu, then to Gray and Urza who surrounded him. So, who wants first blood? He asked as he covered his body in gray-colored electricity. I thought he was a fire demon slayer, Happy questioned silently. Oh, I am much better than a mere single elemental demon slayer, but I am not a fool to fight Fairy Tail's own salamander with my flames, he replied to the cat. Natsu ignited his fists and threw a punch at Naruto. Naruto, however, merely raised his hand and caught the fist in his palm and was pushed back a couple of feet. Naruto nodded his head. Okay, it seems we have a challenger, I'm game, Naruto said, and then lashed out with his raw magic power that created giant arcs of lightning that struck a lot of the Fairy Tail wizards. Naruto then drew his head back. Reima no Gekiko, Lightning Demon's Rage, Naruto called out just as Natsu released his own dragon roar. The two elements collide and explode, kicking up a cloud of dust which Natsu was thrown back several feet by as Naruto stood firmly in place. Not bad, Salamander, but I think that there is someone who is much better suited to challenge you than I. Gajeel, he's all yours, Naruto said as Gajeel walked up beside him. Gajeel gave a massive grin. Let's rampage salamander, Gajeel said, and the two dragons charged one another. Naruto raised a hand and caught a sword between his two fingers. He could see the anger in the redhead's eyes. Well, hello to you too, Titania Urza, Naruto said calmly before he channeled his lightning magic down the blade, shocking Titania where she let go of the sword as her arm spasmed due to the electricity flowing through it. He watched as Titania glowed before she reappeared in another skimpy outfit, but it was white with lightning bolts decorating the dress. I must admit, that's sexy as hell. However, that's not like my Juvia-chan, Naruto said as Urza blushed when he called her sexy in that outfit. Her blush turned into a scowl when he compared her to another woman. And to think that this blonde was cute as well. It was a shame he wasn't single, because if he was, she'd snatch him up in a heartbeat. Wait. Where did those thoughts come from? She didn't even know this guy to like him, so why was she interested in this asshole in any way whatsoever? While I thank you for the compliment, I must stay true to my job, the redhead said. Naruto shrugged. Well, can't really say I blame you, Urza-san, he replied to the redhead. Naruto's hand glowed with silver fire. However, I must warn you now, I won't be going easy just because you're a woman. So I can honestly say that you will fight for your life. Not that I plan on taking it, he said to her. Urza said nothing as she readied herself to fight against the powerful wizard. Naruto cracked his neck and motioned for her to attack. Well, if you think you got what it takes to beat me, then let's see what you've got, Naruto said to the beautiful redhead as she charged. Chapter end. Chapter 2. Strom of Fairy Tale. Naruto growled, asshole Kakashi. I thought he was going to train me. He was late nearly an hour ago, now he's pushing through a whole 2 hours, he said angrily. With a sigh, the blonde 12-year-old stands up and begins to walk back to the village. However, as he walks down the path, he hears someone speaking. Sasuke. Now what you need to do next is channel the lightning through your hand and encase it in your palm like you're holding a ball, a familiar voice said. Was that Kakashi-sensei? Naruto silently walked towards the sound of his teacher and fellow teammate, and what he sees angers him. Kakashi was teaching Sasuke a jutsu. When he had asked to be trained on how to overcome his opponent, and he was told to work on chakra control. Yet here he finds Kakashi training Sasuke in ninjutsu. He couldn't take it anymore and burst out of the bush he was hiding in. So this is how it's gonna be, is it? Naruto yells at the man, drawing both their attention. Kakashi turns to see the angry blonde. Oh hey Naruto, how is your chakra control coming along? He asked with his patent eye smile. Naruto opted to ignore him and looked to his supposed rival. He shakes his head. Sasuke, I thought we were rivals. It appears that only the privileged get the proper material. As of right now, you're no longer my rival, he said before turning to face his teacher. And you, don't ever come near me again or I'll kill you, he said and walked off. Sasuke snorted. Just goes to show that only the Uchiha will be superior to a clanless loser. The Uchiha sneered as Naruto walked away. However, Naruto looked back. Last I checked, the Uzumaki clan was 1,000 times more powerful than the Senju and the Uchiha, which was why it took the combined efforts of 4 great villages to wipe out only 300 people, while it only took 1 to wipe out the Uchiha, he retorted. That caused Sasuke's eyes to widen before he looked to Kakashi. There was a Uzumaki clan? He asked the man. Kakashi nodded, yes, and what he said was true, he told Sasuke. The silver-haired man smiled. Now let's get back to teaching you the Chidori, he said. Naruto was running through the village towards the gates with an emotionless look on his face. He wouldn't be coming back ever. If this was what Kakashi meant by comrades stick together, then he wanted no part of it. He had already left his headband back at his apartment with a slash through the forehead showing he had defected and a note explaining why. Now he was free. Meanwhile, up in the heavens, a meeting was happening. The gods were pondering what they had been told. Apparently their queen Amaterasu was not pleased with what was happening with the prophesied child. The Shinto god of death Shinigami stood up from his seat. My queen, as much as I hate to ask it, why so interested in the mortal? The death god asked. Amaterasu chuckled. Shinigami, as you know, young Naruto-kun is the reincarnation of young Asura-kun. Therefore he is the one that Hagoromo prophesied will be the one to bring together the Biju, Amaterasu said, getting a nod from the god of death. Amaterasu continued, However, with the way things are going in the shinobi world, I have decided that he needs to be relocated to complete his destiny, but not the one Hagoromo has set out for him. He will be the savior of a world similar to the elemental nations with the exception of him having magic. The Queen of Gods chirped happily. Susanoo looked at the goddess. Amaterasu, I have to ask, how will we get the bot there? I mean, it's forbidden to interfere directly with a mortal's life affairs. The god said. Amaterasu winked at the god. Leave that to me, she said, and with that their meeting was adjourned. Naruto was at the final valley, a place where a monumental battle took place nearly 60 years ago between the Shodai and his rival Madara. After running for 6 hours straight, he had finally arrived. He was headed towards a village that would accept him and his power, Kumo, and for him to get trained properly. However, he was tired. Even a Jinchuriki for a demon as powerful as the 9 tails in a Uzumaki to boot needed to rest every once in a while. However, when he went to sit down, his body began to glow, and with a yelp of surprise he vanished into nothingness as he didn't know where he was going to. However, when he reappeared, he didn't expect to be surrounded by giants. Naruto gulped. Oh boy, I'm in trouble, he said to himself, getting a laugh out of several of them. Amaterasu raised her hand signaling for the others to grow quiet, and they shut up. She then looked to the last Uzumaki, and Senju by default, and spoke. Naruto Uzumaki, I am Amaterasu, Shinto goddess of the sun, she said as she introduced herself to the boy. Naruto's eyes widened when he heard her name and immediately got down on his knees to bow to the almighty goddess before him, as it was only natural courtesy to kneel before the queen of the gods. Lady Amaterasu, it is an honor to be in your presence, Naruto said humbly to the goddess. Amaterasu giggled. Stand, Naruto, this is a meeting and nobody is in trouble, she told him. Naruto did as he was told and rose to his feet. He then looked around with surprise as all the gods were there. Amaterasu decided to get back on track. Naruto Uzumaki Senju, you are here because we felt that it would behoove you to be sent to another world similar to the elemental nations. However, there are some things you must know. First off, stealing, killing, kidnapping and most if not all shinobi ideals are illegal in this world, she told Naruto. Naruto nodded his head before something clicked in his mind. You said Senju when you spoke my name, why is that? He asked the goddess. Amaterasu nodded her head. Yes, that is correct. What about it? She asked the blonde. Naruto took a step forward. Well, that would mean you know my parents, and I was just wondering if you knew them as all, he asked her a bit reluctantly. Amaterasu hummed to herself before she looked to the blonde. Would you like to know? She asked the blonde. Naruto nodded his head vigorously. Yes, milady, he said to her honestly. If this was a chance to know who his parents were, then he would want to hear this. Amaterasu nodded her head. Your mother was the last of her clan, the Uzumaki, as you told that pitiful Uchiha. Your father was the Senju heir, as he was the son of Tsunade Senju and her teammate Jiraiya, but was given up for adoption shortly after birth as she didn't want to be reminded she had slept with such a pervert during her most vulnerable moments as her lover just died. His name was Minato Namikaze, the 4th Hokage, she told him. Naruto was in shock. As much as he didn't show it, he was very smart and knew a lot of things, but he didn't want to let people know he did. However, this also meant that the old man had known who his parents were all along and hadn't told him. He was very good at keeping secrets, but this was one he would gladly keep a secret to stay alive, as he knew who Minato was. But this was crossing the line. He had wanted to know for so long, and yet every time he asked the old man, he was always told he didn't know or he might find out later. As far as he was concerned, the old man could rot in hell. Naruto looked to Amaterasu. When do I leave? He asked her. The gods smiled. It seemed that knowing the truth made him want to leave that wrecked world once and for all. Good. Amaterasu waved her hand. Now, farewell and good luck, Naruto, she told him. And with that, Naruto vanished the same way he had arrived. Izanagi looked to Amaterasu. Why didn't you tell him you removed the 9 tails or gave him the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan? The god asked her. Amaterasu giggled. It was supposed to be a surprise for when he go there. Besides, with his new mentor he will have all the power he needs to make sure Acnologia doesn't win. So that is why I gave him the freedom from his burden and exchanged it for a better gift. Kurama was too prideful to listen to me, so I removed him from the boy, she said. Izanagi nodded, and then the room vanished as all the gods vanished. However, this was the start of a new journey for the blonde ninja, well, ex-ninja, as he was being moved to his new homeworld. However, he wouldn't start where he wanted to. He could feel his eyes open slowly, but the light was bright. He could hear voices speaking about how they needed to see just how much energy he had. He didn't get to hear much more as he passed out again. Brain, a man who had found the boy, was astounded when he had first laid eyes on the child. He had large pools of magic, more so than the young girl named Ultir. It was at the level of a mid-ranked wizard saint, which was most impressive. They had found him in a forest not far from here, and he was very sick to the point he was on the throes of death. But Brain had brought him in and they had saved his life barely. Brain knew he wasn't the one he would need for his organic link magic, so he had contacted another who he knew would openly welcome the boy and Ultir. The boy had a tattoo on his back that took him several days to find in a book, but color him surprised when he found out it was a symbol from an ancient civilization called Quetzalcoatl, an ancient civilization indeed, whose people worshipped the god of storms and in turn were granted his power to control the weather. So with that in mind, he contacted Hades and told him of the wondrous fortune he had come across with the two children. Ultir had the ability to use time magic, and the boy's magic was so potent he was literally creating a thunderstorm that had lasted for 2 weeks straight. Brain opened the door to Ultir's room and cleared his throat to gain the little girl's attention. "Ultir, there is someone I'd like for you to come meet," he told her. Ultir was once a cheerful little girl, but when she had found her mother training two boys' magic, she had changed. Now she despised her mother with a hatred that burned like 1,000 suns like no other. Ultir looked to Brain. "Who is it?" she said with an emotionless face. Brain smiled at the girl. "Well, he's a bit older than you, as he looked to be around 9, but I don't think that means anything to you," he said offhandedly. Ultir looked at Brain. "When do I get to meet him?" she asked with a bit more share in her voice. Brain smiled. "When he gets better, but that should be soon," he told her as he thought about it. Ultir nodded. "Then I'll wait for HS recovery," she said. With nothing else to tell her, Brain left to go do more research on the boy. He was going to be a deciding pawn in the world's legacy one day, and he would be the leading factor of it all. 2 weeks later, Naruto's eyes slowly opened to see a bright light encompassing his form. Looking around confused, he spoke. "What is this place?" he asked himself. However, he didn't expect to be answered. "This is a spot of in-between. A dimension where I can talk to you for the short amount of time we have." Amaterasu's voice spoke to him. He turned his head to the side. "What do you mean?" he asked her. Amaterasu gave a short laugh. "Well, young Naruto, I came to tell you that I have done some modifications to your body. In short, I think it's best for me to explain just what I have done to your body," she told the blonde. Naruto shrugged. "Lay it on me," he said. Amaterasu nodded her head. "Well, I have taken the liberty to make you a tad bit younger. You are now 10 years old. I have given you a body that is very durable to the point you can take most if not all attacks on your body. You can now use both chakra and energy here called Athernano, which is used to cast spells for magic. I have taken the liberty to remove the 9 tails from your body and given every single drop of his power to you, so you will have to learn how to use your powers. Also, I have given you a gift," she said with a smile on her face. Naruto shrugged. Removing the 9 tails was a gift in itself, he said. But if she had another gift for him, then he would gladly take it. Amaterasu smiled. "Well, I guess it wouldn't hurt to tell you that I have given you the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan," she said to the blonde. Naruto was confused. "What the heck is that?" "I know what a Sharingan is, but what the heck is this eternal Mangekyo Sharingan?" he asked the goddess. Amaterasu began to explain. She explained it was the next evolution to the Sharingan, but if the wielder had only a regular Mangekyo, they would go blind, so she gave him the full-powered Mangekyo Sharingan. She then looked around. "Well, that's all I can say for now, so I bid you farewell, Naruto. Good luck out there, Yogan no Ko," she said to the blonde before she vanished, leaving him to wonder what she meant by child of prophecy. But he couldn't think long as he woke up. He groaned at how bright the sun was. "Wait. Sun?" He sat up and noticed he was in a bed that was really soft and comfortable. "Maybe focus, Naruto." He looked around and saw he was in what appeared to be a hospital room. He didn't have any IV hooked up to him, which meant he was not being treated for any illnesses or the works. However, he did feel like he had been treated, so there was nothing to worry about. However, he was brought out of his thoughts when the room to the door opened up to reveal an old man with a really long beard and eye patch. The old man smiled. "So you have finally awoken, have you? Good." The man said. Naruto quirked an eyebrow. "Where am I?" he asked the old man. The man chuckled. "You were on board the Grimoire Heart airship." The man said. Naruto had no idea what this Grimoire Heart was, but an airship he did know of, so he wasn't that confused. Naruto shrugged. "So what do you want with me?" he asked the man. The old man chuckled. "Straight to the point, are you? I like that in a person, as it saves time and it doesn't make me have to explain everything," he said. Hades cleared his throat. "First off, my name is Hades, Guild Master of Grimoire Heart, and I couldn't help but notice you were in need of some help." The now introduced Hades said. Naruto shrugged. "What's it matter to you? I'm just a gift killer," he said as he began to lie. Hades was intrigued by what the boy said. "Can you explain what you mean?" he asked the blonde. Naruto shrugged. "What's there to explain? We were celebrating a festival to honor Lord Susanoo and then celebrate the ceremony where he chooses a host to control his powers. Suddenly a goddess comes out of nowhere saying Lord Susanoo sent her to do something, but I can't remember," he lied. Hades quirked an eyebrow. A person to host a god was an extremely rare honor in the world of magic, legendary even. For one to host a god in their body, they literally had to take the full power of the god into their body and survive without their body exploding from the amount of power they were being given. Could it be? Naruto shrugged again. "I saw through her lie. I saw that she wanted us to worship her instead of Lord Susanoo, and I called her out on it just as Lord Susanoo came to choose his host. It was supposed to be his first host in over 1,000 years, and we were excited to honor his arrival as the seer had foretold," Naruto said, trying to keep his charade up. Hades leaned forward. "What happened next?" he asked curiously. Naruto sighed. "The goddess caught Lord Susanoo off guard and hurt him by nearly ripping his soul in half, but he escaped before she could kill him. The goddess then forced my people to worship her. But for some reason I was feeling so angry. So angry, in fact, I attacked the goddess with purple lightning. The people of my home were outraged. I attacked her. I tried to remind them we were worshippers of Lord Susanoo, but they wouldn't listen. That's when I heard him. Lord Susanoo told me to run and never look back, as I was his chosen one, his champion of the storms." Naruto finished his tale, which he had to admit sounded really good. So his hunch was right. He had the host of a god in front of him. This was great for him. He had potentially one of the most powerful people in the world in front of him. Perfect. Naruto continued. "After that I fled and never looked back, as I was considered a gift killer when I killed that thing. Besides, magic was all that liked in my village, more so when I was there," the blonde said with a huff. "Then you are in luck," Hades remarked softly. "Outside of this airship, mages are not treated the way you clearly have been. They are treated with respect and welcomed into guilds where they can be with others like them," Hades told Naruto. "As I told you before, I am the leader of such a guild, and I would like to extend an offer to you. Come with me and join my guild. I can give you a place to call home, and you will never again go without food, clothing, or a safe place to sleep. But that is only the beginning. If you come with me, I will help you become a great mage, one with such power that no one will ever treat with anything but the utmost respect. What do you say?" Hades asked the kid. It was easy to tell that the child was enthralled with his every word. "Are you serious?" the child asked softly, rising to his feet. "Of course," Hades confirmed, giving the boy a genuine smile. "When can we leave?" he asked, a bit of excitement leaking into his words, earning a small laugh from Hades. "I am ready if you are," he confirmed. "But first, I would like to know your name," he asked the blonde. The boy actually looked embarrassed at the realization that he had not told Hades what his name was when he introduced himself. "I'm Naruto, just Naruto," he said, introducing himself. "Well, it was nice to meet you, Naruto. Now I must go attend to other matters. Feel free to explore the rest of the ship," Hades told him. "If you make sure you can move around a bit, I can introduce you to some of the other members of Grimoire Heart before they go to bed," he told Naruto. Naruto shrugged. "All right, whatever floats the boat," he said with a chuckle. Either way, welcome to Grimoire Heart, Naruto. Hades told him patiently as he turned to head back towards the door. There are a few other members of the guild around your age. I believe you will fit in quite well, Hades said to the blonde Godeling. Naruto did not say anything as he got up and followed the elderly man, but Hades could hear the boy's footsteps right behind him. By the sound of things, it appeared that he was practically bouncing as he walked. After dealing with some of the other members of the guild, Hades was not bothered by the child's excitement in the least though. If anything, he found it refreshing. After leading Naruto through several corridors, they came across a man that resembled a goat. Naruto, this is Caprico, Hades said, cutting Naruto off before he could ask a question. Caprico, this is Naruto, our newest member. I would like you to pass on some orders for me. It's time to depart, and I would appreciate it if the other kin were gathered in the throne room in an hour so they can meet their newest comrade, Hades said to the goat man. Of course, Master Hades, Caprico replied with a bow before he departed. Naruto looked to Hades. Was that goat man a mage? Naruto asked curiously. Correct, Hades said with a nod of his head. He is one of the strongest members of Grimoire Heart. You see, he is part of a group called the Kin of Purgatory. They currently number at 6, but there will be 7 of them in total, Hades told the blonde. What does the name mean? Naruto asked, a frown on his face. Kin is a term used to describe family. It's a common belief that guilds are like families, Hades told him as he led Naruto through the airship. Purgatory is the part that confused you, I believe. Purgatory is a world between life and death. Its use in this case is metaphorical, Hades told the blonde before he gave a cough to clear his throat. Hades continued his explanation. You see, the 6 kin of Purgatory use rare forms of magic that have been lost to the ages. Extremely rare magic that has been erased from the annals of history due to its sheer power. It is commonly referred to as ancient or lost magic. Their use of such magic makes them 6 of the strongest mages in Grimoire Heart, behind only myself and my deputy commander, Blue Note Stinger, Hades told the blonde. Then he stopped and turned to Naruto. But the intention was never for there to be 6 kin of Purgatory. If you are willing, I would like for you to join their number in time. With you, the 7 kin of Purgatory would be complete, Hades said. Naruto was struck speechless by his words, but not for too long. Me? I'm going to be one of those guys, he asked in disbelief. Hades nodded his head to the blonde. Yes, you will. You are one of the younger members, but you have the potential to one day surpass all of them, Hades told him with a brief smile. And you're going to teach me to use lost magic? Naruto asked in awe. Yes, that is right, Hades confirmed. But that is a subject for later. I want your rapt attention when we finally discuss the magic I wish for you to learn. Lost magic must be treated with care and caution, he told the boy. Naruto merely nodded, too stunned by the subject of the conversation to say too much. We are beginning to take flight, so watch your step. Maintaining your balance on an airship can take some effort, Hades said as he stopped in front of a dark doorway. Now, this will be your room for the time being as you no longer need to stay in the infirmary. If it isn't to your liking, we can find a different room later. For now, I would recommend you take a shower. Some clothes will be delivered shortly. You would not want to make a bad first impression on your new comrades after all, Hades told the blonde Godeling. Naruto glanced down at the rags he wore and grumbled about how he had just gotten that outfit. Thank you, Master Hades, Naruto said, his voice softer than normal. Hades did not even have time to reply before Naruto entered the room and headed to take a shower. Hades walked into his room and picked up a book that had the words, Storm God Slayer Magic, printed on the front and nodded to himself. He then went to a crate and picked out some clothes for the boy and went to set them on the boy's all for the host to the god of storms. He would need to know his magic and how it worked or else bad things could happen. After Naruto had gotten himself cleaned up, he changed into the cloths that had been provided to him and had gotten a look at the book that was beside the clothes. So he was to be an actual god slayer in this world. Well, that was actually pretty cool. With this he could be a kick-ass ninja and wizard, so that was a plus. Walking out of the room, he saw the goat man Caprico standing outside his door. He gave a wave. Sup, he said to the goat man. Caprico nodded his head. Hello Naruto, it is nice to officially met you. If you would please follow me. the goat man said and began walking down the hall. Naruto shrugged and did as he was told. After several twists and turns they finally arrived in a large room with Hades, a large man in blue clothing, and 6 kids, one of which was around a year old. At once, Naruto could tell that they must have been the 6 kin of Purgatory. As it was, the goat man from earlier, Caprico, was standing near the center of the room. To his left was a large man with chalk-white skin and shaggy black hair. Extremely overweight and tall, the only word Naruto could use to describe the man was huge. To Capricorn's right, there was another tall figure, but this one was a young man of approximately 16 years of age. He had tanned skin and dark brown hair. To the young man's right, there was a tall, lanky boy that wore sunglasses and had silver hair that stuck straight up. Naruto personally doubted that he was an older than 10 years old, if that. To the silver-haired boy's right, there was a girl around the same age as him with dark purple hair and brown eyes. Immediately, he thought she was a cute girl, not that he would have ever admitted to it. And on the far end next to the large man, Naruto saw a young girl that was roughly a year or 2 in age with pink hair. "It looks like we are just on time," Hades remarked as he placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder. "Everyone, I would like to introduce you to Naruto. He is to be the final member of the 7 kin of Purgatory," Hades said to the group of children. His words received mixed reactions from the 6 individuals in the room, but most of them were indifferent. The silver-haired boy and the large man did not appear pleased, but no one spoke out against him at least. "Naruto, I'd like to introduce you to Ultier Milkovich, Rusty Rose, Azuma, Caprico, Kane Hikaru, and Merity, or as we call her Meldy," Hades told him. "It's nice to meet you," Naruto greeted with a bright smile, albeit a forced one. Hey, he was surrounded by strangers, it was normal. Even so, his greeting earned a few surprised looks, along with a couple incredulous ones. "It's nice to meet you as well," Naruto, Ultier greeted in return with a polite tone. "Welcome to Grimoire Heart," she chirped happily. "Thanks," Naruto replied, unable to keep the hint of surprise out of his voice. Before that day, he could not remember anyone being polite to him. "What kind of magic are you going to teach him, Master Hades?" Ultier asked, her tone shifting from polite to one of interest. Hades smirked. "God Slayer magic. Storm God Slayer magic. He will also be learning how to use his godly powers from his guest," he told the girl. This confused all the children, sans Merity as she was just a toddler, by what he meant. Azuma looked to Hades. "What do you mean, Master Hades?" he asked the old man. Hades chuckled. "Young Naruto here hosts the power of a god within him, and it is his duty on how to learn how to control such power. If trained correctly, he will be able to call upon the god's avatar form in battle," he told Azuma. That astounded the group of kids. He was easily their most powerful member besides Master Hades. Hades clears his throat. "However, that does not mean that you can slack off in your own training, am I clear?" he said, basically demanding their respect. The group all nodded their heads. Hades nodded. "Good," he said with a nod before turning to Naruto. "Tomorrow we will begin to create a training regimen so that you can harness your abilities as a host and Godslayer," he said to Naruto. Naruto nodded his head. "Yes, Master Hades," Naruto said to the man. Hades sighed in exhaustion, "But we will discuss it in depth tomorrow. For now, I would recommend that you get to know your new comrades better. However, I shall be retiring for the night. I suggest you do the same before too long. It would not be wise to start your training in a state of exhaustion," he said to Naruto. And with that, Hades spun around and left the room. "Sure thing, Master," Naruto replied, a mixture of excitement and relief filling him. Already, he had the feeling that he had made the right decision when he chose to go with Hades. Looking back, Naruto would never be able to bring himself to regret that decision. After all, it was the start of a new adventure for him. He would look back and remember that this was a day that his whole life would change. He would fall in love, make comrades, and he would learn so much that he would become one of the strongest men in the world. It was a good idea to follow the man indeed. Chapter End. Chapter 3. Acnologia's Redemption. Roars of dragons tore the sky apart, the vibrations echoing amongst the buildings that remained standing. The structures quivered before collapsing as the sound shuddered around their corners, distorting the pitch and length into something far more terrifying than the original. Bright flickering flames scorched the edifices of the city, their serpentine path unaffected by the immutable stone, all melted and burned in the face of the dragon's flames and their power. Dragon after dragon, there was no end to this nightmare. Princess Hisui was crying, and her father stood looking at the opening gate with his eyes widened in horror, terrifying at the disaster they had brought to their country. The guards, knight and mage of the strongest guilds around Fury, could barely move an inch of their body at the sight of the powerful dragons, let alone fight against them like how the king asked them to. More than 24 dragons had been set into the present world, and more dragons were waiting at the other side for their turn to come, drew toward the gate because of the surplus amount of Aethernano. However, Lucy Heartfilia ran as fast as she could to the pedestal, hoping that she could close the gate in time. However, with a mighty roar from the flaming dragon, she was blown back several feet, but Wendy quickly jumped in to stop her. "Lucy-san, hurry!" Wendy cried as she tried to keep her eyes safe from the unimaginable heat. "Yeah," was all the blonde celestial mage could say at the moment as she pushed herself onto her feet again. She ran at the pedestal again, and this time she was able to reach it and grabbed the handle with both hands, pulling it as hard as she could while using the power of a celestial mage. As more and more dragons kept showing up, Crocus was now nothing more than a war zone for it to play, and soon they all felt into control of a single man, who stood on top of the building with a sly smirk on his face. "Lucy-san, is the door still not closed?" Wendy asked as loud as she could, trying to let her voice reach the older mage. "At this rate, there'll be no end to the number of dragons that cross through the door," she cried out in worry. "Why wouldn't it close? Why?" Lucy screamed and tried to pull the lever as hard as she could, but much to her dismay it didn't move in the slightest. "Why won't this door close?" she yelled as the mountain-like dragon, who just crossed the gate, stomped his foot down to the ground and knocked Lucy back again. "The power of a single celestial mage isn't enough?" Arcadius asked in shock as Lucy struggled to get on her feet again. "Don't forget about me." They all turned their head around when they saw Yukino Iguria, followed by Mira of Fairy Tail, ran toward them. "Lucy-sama, please take out your golden keys," Yukino cried as she ran to Lucy. "Combined with mine, we'll use all 12 to seal the gate," she told Lucy. "We're using the celestial spirit?" Lucy asked in surprise before removing the 12 golden keys from the ring and threw it into the air. "All right, let's do this, Yukino." The zodiac keys then floated into the air and formed into a circle around their body and began to glow a beautiful golden light. It was an amazing sight for those who had never seen such a phenomena in their lives. Yukino and Lucy grabbed each other's hands and kneeled down with their forehead leaned against each other, closing their eyes and concentrated all of their magic into the 12 keys and began chanting. "O celestial spirits of the 12 golden paths, lend me the power to seal this evil. Open 12 gates of the zodiac," they shouted. In a flash of light the 12 spirits appeared. From Loke the lion to Aquarius the water-bearer, each zodiac celestial spirit appeared around them as their body bathed in the light of celestial magic. "Close the gate, please," Lucy said softly as she threw her head back. No words were spoken between them, but almost stimulatingly they jumped into the air and sped off to the eclipse gate in blinding flashlights. With 6 spirits on each side of the gate they started pushing, bumping all of their celestial magic into the gate and tried their hardest to close it. However, before they could fully close it, a massive dragon with green and red scales, horns on its snout and 2 sets of bat-like wings, bigger than any dragons that had come through the gate, unleashed a mighty roar that was so strong that it blasted the gate open wide again, making enough space for it to fly through. "Tadawaki," Future Rogue said in amazement as the powerful dragon flew into the sky and unleashed another mighty roar that was strong enough to blast away a large area of Crocus and knocked everyone inside down. The former Dragon King before Acnologia claimed that position with his absence. "Such power," he said as a wide smirk appeared on his face. "Perfect," he said and shot into the air. "It's still not closing." Loke gritted his teeth as he tried to push as hard as he could. But 2 massive dragons were standing at the gate with their body directly blocking them, stopping the 12 celestial spirits from closing it. "Come on, we can do this," Aquarius roared. She tried to push harder, however, much to everyone's dismay the dragons that were stopping it was still refusing to move. Is this the end? Lucy muttered as she looked at the door hopelessly, as yet another dragon was making its way through it. However, an unexpected voice gained their attention. So this is why I was drawn here. To think that so many would arrive on this day, a voice said. They all turned and looked at the newcomer confused. The man shook. No wonder the air reeked of dragon, it is because they have returned. Pathetic creatures, the lot of them. The man said. He is dark-skinned, and on his body he bears the same light blue markings he does when he is a dragon. For attire, the man dons a high-collared, black cloak, which also bears his draconian markings, sharp red claws around his neck, a sash around his waist, a gold arm ring tightened around his right upper arm, and baggy pants which are decorated the same as the most former article of clothing. This was Naruto Uzumaki, otherwise known as Acnologia, the Apocalypse Dragon King. Wendy looked at the man and gulped. She didn't know why, but his aura was extremely familiar to her. She couldn't help it and spoke. Who are you? She asked the man. Said man snorted, I am unimportant. However, it seems that you dragon slayers have your hands full, so I have no other choice but to lend my support. He told the girl. Wendy was determined, so she called him out. Are you Acnologia? She said, making him stop as he was walking towards the two dragons blocking the gate, as another dragon resembling a walking bolt of electricity walked out from the eclipse gate into the future time period. The man smirked as he turned around to face her. He gave a slight bow. The one and only Acnologia at your service. He said mockingly, shocking all of them and scaring the rest at his proclamation. Carla couldn't believe her ears. Impossible. How is it possible for him to appear like this? Last time we encountered Acnologia, he was a dragon the size of a mountain. Yes, the markings and magic are similar, but it shouldn't be possible for a human to shift into the form of a dragon. Besides, it was written that Acnologia was a demon of Zareth, one of if not the most powerful demon created by Zareth. She thought in horror. If he attacked them again, they would be doomed, and there was no way to fight him off. He was just too powerful. Hisui looked at the ancient dragon slayer. If you are who you say you are, then I beg of you, save my kingdom, she said to the long-haired blonde. Naruto snorted. I didn't come here to save anyone. I came here to slay some dragons, he said as a smirk appeared on his face. Turning around, Naruto thrust his hand into the air and a large explosion appeared as a deep trench was carved into the ground before the two dragons plus a large maid of molten lava began walking out of the gate. The explosion forced everyone to cover their faces as the brutal winds threatened to send them flying. The lava dragon plus two dragons holding the gate open were nearly vaporized by the powerful strike. Naruto gave a whistle to the spirits. Close the gate, now, he ordered. The spirits nodded and pushed the gate closed as a dragon with purple poisonous scales appeared and tried to walk out from the gate. However, the spirits managed to close the gate much to everyone's joy. It closed, finally. Lucy and Yukino smiled as they all breathed out in relief while Wendy and Happy cheered out for them. Oh! The guards cheered. They did it, they said in celebration. It's much too early to celebrate, Arcadius cried out, interrupting their short moment of happiness. How many of them made it through already? He demanded a soldier. There are 37 of them, sir, a soldier replied with sweat pouring down his face. They looked around and sweated nervously at the sight of the dragons. Lucy Heartfilia, Yukino, you two just had to stick your nose where it didn't belong, Future Rogue said as he approached them with a small smirk on his face, but 37 will suffice. Truth to be told, trying to control 10,000 of them, including Tadawaki, is simply a nightmare for anyone, even me, he said gloatingly. What did you? Lucy started to say, however she started to trail off. Rogue-sama? Yukino asked, clearly confused by his appearance. He's the one, Hisui said. He told me about the future, she said, pointing to the man. He's the man from the future who deceived you, princess? Arcadius said, stepping in front of her and drew his sword. You. This was your goal from the very beginning, Lucy said as she grit her teeth with anger. Rogue, however, ignored her and turned to look at Naruto. He then snorted, so this is the almighty Acnologia, is it? Well, I must say your little display was something like that out of a book. However, you are no longer the king of dragons on this night, he said to the man who snorted in return at the punk's claim. Think what you want, kid, because in the end I shall be the one to tear you apart, Naruto said to the man. Future Rogue shrugged. Think what you will, because it's not like you can do anything to stop this. Rogue said as he closed his eyes before saying, listen well, foolish citizens. Future Rogue raised his hands, and the dragons that made it out of the door crowded around him, and Medrith, the biggest, most powerful of all, stood on the Mercurius castle and spread its wings, releasing a mighty roar that shook the entire city. Listen up, my ignorant and very foolish subjects, and take heed. As Future Rogue raised his hands. As he did this, the dragons that made it out of the door crowded around him, and Tadawaki, the biggest, most powerful of all, stood on the Mercurius castle and spread its wings, releasing a mighty roar that shook the entire city to its very roots. Naruto stood his ground and glared at the gold and crimson dragon. You're going to be a huge pain in the ass, aren't you, Tadawaki? He growled. Tadawaki was, by far, the most powerful dragon in history, known to be the Dragon of Dragons and the first Dragon King of Apocalypse. Moreover, the only reason for him to become the Dragon King 400 years ago was because the absence of this dragon. Now I know where you has disappeared to, he said. From this moment forward, the human species shall be extinct. Because now begins the era of dragons. He then gazed at the dragons calmly. 10 of you find all the mages in the town, and eliminate them. He ordered the dragons. To the surprise of everyone there, sans Naruto, they obeyed him. The dragons are doing as he ordered, Carla exclaimed as 10 dragons in the group split up to find their prey. He said something about control just now. Could he be? Panther Lily widened his eyes in surprise. The secret art of dominating and controlling dragons. Dragon Tamer magic, Future Rogue said. His eyes gleamed as he hopped on one of the dragons, the first one that walked through the door and the second largest dragon just after the Dragon King itself. Mother Glare. What does he want? Mira growled. What could he possibly gain from doing all of this? Yukino questioned. Nothing while I'm still here. Naruto growled and shot up into the air, cratering the ground only to land on top of a dragon known as Ashdod. Across the city, all the mage guilds were being attacked by dragons, and soon, one of the dragons under Future Rogue's spell found his first meal. The mages from the Fairy Tale Guild. It's here, Bisca said in shock. A dragon. Macau said in awe. Its body's made of nothing but flames, Alzak said. That's a dragon, Warren said. Brace yourselves, Makarov roared out as he got into full battle mode. I am the Dragon Atlas Flame, the dragon said as he introduced himself. You shall now experience the flames of hell, he told them all. Opening his mouth, he unleashed a powerful flame attack that sent the mages tumbling. All around, the guilds teamed up to fight off their own dragons, but even if they attacked all out, they couldn't land a single mark on their strong bodies. That's it. Go and run rampant, Future Rogue crowed as he rode on the first dragon, watching the carnage from the sky. Ingrain it into their very fiber, the wrath of a dragon, he said gleefully. However, said glee wasn't to last, as something unexpected happened. His eyes widened when he heard a loud, booming sound as a blue dragon with its head completely blown apart fell down from the sky, dead, with Naruto standing on one knee on its neck. And no way. Lucy said in shock at what she saw. Arcadios could feel his eyes widen in shock. Impossible. He said in shock. He killed a dragon. Hisui stuttered in bewilderment. If what he said earlier was true, then this battle could head in any direction. Future Rogue growled. That's impossible, he said. Naruto looked up at the man and pointed at him. You're next, he said, and gave a mighty jump and landed on Mother Glare's back with the man. He suddenly vanished and reappeared behind him with his whole forearm covered in blood while holding two bloody orbs in his hand. One white and one black. Future Rogue fell down dead. As he started to walk towards the weak spot on Mother Glare's neck, an apparition appeared in Naruto's mind, making him stop. He knew this being very well, as he had fought alongside with the creature. Skiadrum. You're alive? He asked the black dragon. Skiadrum nodded his head. Hello, Naruto, he greeted. Naruto shook his head. So this was where you went all those years ago. The future where the Aethernano levels were higher, he said as Skiadrum nodded again. With you turning into a dragon during the war and slaughtering everything, we, Igneal, Metallicana, Wycelohia, Grandini, made a plan to send 5 young dragon slayers to the future. The Origin L plan was to kill you, but it seems that you have reigned in your rage. Skiadrum stated. Naruto snorted, oh trust me it's still there. If it wasn't for that bastard Zeref I would actually be a regular immortal. Naruto said to the black dragon. Skiadrum nodded, yeah. You just wanted to live your life normally and I respect that, Naruto. However, since you're here, maybe you can show those younger slayers a thing or two, Skiadrum said. Naruto smirked, I already planned to, he told the dragon. Skiadrum laughed for the first time in a long time, well see to it that you do. I'm afraid that my time is up. Farewell old friend. I am glad we part in good terms, Skiadrum said, and his soul passed on to the next life. Naruto shook his head as he cleared his head. Now that the future rogue was dead his spell had worn off, which was not good. Mother Glare started to turn side to side, constantly crashing into the buildings as he tried to shake Naruto off his back. Naruto, however, knew he had to go all out if he wanted to get rid of the dragons that weren't friendly. Enter Ost Dragon King. So with that he jumped up off of Mother Glare's back and his body began to his entire upper body was covered in black, round scales, which in turn, are decorated by spiraling, blue markings like when he is a human. His lower body, specifically his chin, chest, stomach, inner tail, thighs, and arms, are now gray, almost silver in color, and appear to be rather smooth. Acnologia's eyes turn white and beady. His head is now round and blunt with 4 large, elongated plates extending backward. Acnologia's mouth is also filled with tons of razor-sharp teeth, and, attached to his chin, is a protrusion that resembles an arrowhead. His large dark wings are feathery in appearance, akin to a bird's, and very similar to the sky dragon Grandini's. The scales disappear at the end of Acnologia's tail, which, in itself, ends in a stinger-esque shape, finishing his transformation. Acnologia released a loud roar, drawing everyone's attention, more so from those who had been on Tenro Island 7 years ago when he had attacked it looking for Zeref. Wendy shook in fright. We're doomed. He's actually telling the truth about being Acnologia, she cried out. Lucy and the 3 Exceed that had seen the dragon's power shivered in fear. It can't be. There's just no way, she whimpered. Natsu looked up at Acnologia with shocked eyes. It's Acnologia, he shouted out. Gajeel went pale. He's back. We don't stand a jucking chance now, he said. Acnologia's roar attracted the attention of the dragons that had come through the gate. Sting and Rogue, the 2 dragon slayers of Sabretooth, looked at Acnologia in shock. Lecter pointed to the dragon of everyone's fear. He's here. Acnologia's come to kill us all, he cried out. Sting couldn't believe it. Acnologia was as big as Tadawaki, if not a bit bigger. Hell, they resembled each other in appearances with the exception being their colors were different. He was telling the truth. There's no way a regular wizard can fight such a monster, he said. The amount of power coming from Acnologia was immense, so much so he felt like falling to his knees in despair. Acnologia flies at the nearest dragon, gathering his magic in his mouth, preparing a breath attack, and then releases it. A large dome of light surrounds the dragon as it is torn apart by the powerful attack. The power of Acnologia's strike wipes out several blocks of buildings while leaving a massive crater. Acnologia continues to release magic from his mouth in the form of a beam as it continues to feed the dome of light, where it quickly fades away, leaving a burning crater and a large amount of smoke in the air, making it hard to breathe. Kana looked at the black dragon with wide eyes. Acnologia is here, she exclaimed in shock. Romeo looked at Acnologia with narrowed eyes. So that's him, he said, looking at Acnologia. Wakaba pointed to the dragon. That's the dragon that took out Tenro? No way, it can't be him, he said with wide eyes. Mikao looked at the heavy smoker. Just cause you won't look doesn't mean it's not here, he told Wakaba. Vegeta looked to the sky. First Master, save us, please, he begged, hoping the spirit would come through. Kana shook in fear as she watched the dragon fly about. We don't stand a chance. We barely made it last time, but now, she said as she remembered what happened on Tenro. Things had gone from bad to worse. First the dragons from the Eclipse Gate had arrived, and now a monster they had fought and barely survived against had come. They were doomed. Era looked at the black dragon in fear. I don't believe it. It's Acnologia, she said quietly. Acnologia dove down with a roar, tearing apart the ground, sending wizards and the miniature humanoid dragons Mother Glare had created flying. Wizards around the city were running away from the dragons they had been fighting, opting to leave the city while they could with their lives. Acnologia came close to the ground before rising back to the sky, tearing apart the earth merely by flying by. In the end, many wizards were still sent flying even if they weren't near the dragon. The wizards that hadn't been sent flying were either on their stomachs or knees looking at the creature with wide eyes. Wakaba looked at the carnage with shock. No way he can do that much damage just by flying by, he said, shocked. Macau gulped. I think we actually may be done for. The man said. Vegeta gulped. We're all gonna die, he said in fear. Kana had tears in her eyes. This is total bullshit. First the dragons that had come here, and now it's Acnologia. How are we supposed to beat this, damn it? She yelled out as Acnologia flew around the castle, knocking off a tower. Acnologia dove at another cluster of humanoid dragons with no wizards fighting and flew over them, ignoring as their small beams of magic bounced harmlessly off his scales while he slammed his tail down on the ground with an explosive smack. Now he had all the dragons' attention as they took to the sky to fight the Apocalypse Dragon, and the first one to engage him was a brown dragon with large wings. Acnologia tackled the dragon around its waist, opening his jaw wide before biting down the dragon's neck, tearing it apart even though the dragon scales were known for its hardness. Then again, he was a dragon, so there was nothing it could do to stop him. Seeing the black dragon fight against their enemies shocked most of, if not all, the wizards watching the scene. Natsu gulped. Is he fighting for us, or is there something more going on? He asked in confusion as he watched Acnologia literally rip a dragon in two with his hands. Gross, but very helpful as it took down a dragon. No longer occupied by his prey, Acnologia spoke. Listen up, dragon, and godslayers, and try to get it through those thick skulls of yours. Acnologia said, gaining all the slayers' attention. Dragons have several key weaknesses. The first is at the base of the neck. If you manage to break through the scales, punch through the muscle and they will bleed out, Acnologia said. The second is the weaker scales right behind their wings. This is due to the fact that they are evolved for mobility. Cut these scales off and do the same and they will die, Acnologia told them. The next weakness is the elemental weakness. If you manage to find the elemental weakness, then you have the advantage, he said to them. Go for the belly, neck, mouth, or any other soft spot you can find, as that will lead to your victory. Stay as a group and don't split up, as that will only tire you out. By hunting them as a pack you have the number advantage. This is your moment. You guys were born to do this, Acnologia shouted as he took to the skies. Slay those dragons, that is what your magic is meant to be used for. Good luck, dragon hunters. Give them hell, Acnologia told them. And with that he had to snap another dragon's neck as it tried to sneak up on him as he spoke. He then flew away with high speeds to get away from the dragons that surrounded him. Acnologia zipped and dodged the dragons as he led them on a wild chase over the city and then over the countryside. With his enhanced eyesight he saw a number of humans walking along a path towards the mountain and banked to the right hard and began to run the side of the mountain trail, gaining their attention. When he had passed them, the dragons chasing him flew by a few seconds later. Acnologia jumped off of the mountainside and took to the skies again. They all watched as the black dragon zipped and dodged the breath attacks before he flew higher to the skies before he looked down at the 80 or so dragons under him. Rearing his head back, he let loose a sea of flames that trapped a cluster. These flames were so hot they were colored white to the point they lit up the nighttime sky and turned it to a temporary day. The sheer heat of this attack was like nothing they had ever experienced. This caused those dragons that weren't caught in the newly formed ball of white-hot flames to dodge lest they get turned into barbecue, much like those that were frying in fire. Ea. Kinana groaned. It burns, Levi said as Gajeel moved in front of her. Stay behind me, girls, he said, trying to protect them from the heat waves that attacked them. I'm boiling, Juvia said as she covered her face. They weren't the only ones feeling this intense heat, as Elfman and Lysana were looking at the dragon as he released his roar. Acnologia is a manly dragon, don't you think? Elfman asked. This heat is unlike anything I've ever felt, Lysana said. This is bad. Like really bad, Warren said as he looked at the dragon's attack on his enemies. It feels like I'm in an oven, and we're standing way over here, Jet said as he wiped the sweat from his forehead. It's so frigging hot. Droy said as he began to sweat heavily while Acnologia only continued to release hellfire down on the enemy dragons. Kana and her group looked at the dragon's assault with wide eyes as well. That's unbelievable. It's almost as if the sun is crashing down from the sky. Kana said. It's over, don't you think? Macau asked. I don't know, them dragons definitely sound like they're in pain. Romeo said. Wakaba smirked at this. If them dragons can't take a little bit of heat, then nobody can. He said as he watched the dark dragon release his wrath upon his enemies. Vegeta could only look at this in astonishment. I think we better hide. He thought aloud. Redis shook his head. I don't think that's going to help us. He said. This is the power of the black dragon? It's pretty sweet, don't you think, Rogue? Sting asked as they watched as Acnologia rained all holy hell down upon the assaulting dragons. Hey, always gotta one-up the competition, don't you, Acnologia? Rogue commented. This is what a war between dragons can lead to, so keep your eyes peeled, broskies. Bixlow said as he walked up beside the two dragon slayers. Who cares, we have one of the strongest dragons to have been born on our side. Rogue commented. This is what the real Dragon King's festival is about. Thomas said as he watched from afar. What do you mean, your majesty? Arcadios asked as he too watched the dragons fighting. Humans fighting humans. Dragons fighting dragons. Humans struggling as they're fighting the dragons. Dragons and humans fighting other humans and dragons. This was meant to be a celebration for our people, and now it's an all-out war. The king said. Don't worry, father, I'm sure that Acnologia and the Dragon Slayers are holding their own against this horde. Hisui said to the king. But they're severely outnumbered here, princess. Arcadios said as the fireball crashed into the ground before it began to expand, where it grew to 3 times its original size, causing them to look on in awe. Dear God, this is a catastrophe, Thomas said. Amazing. Urza said. It's the fire dragon's roar, Happy said quietly. Oh wow, that fireball's huge, Lecter said with wide eyes. You're right about that. Frosh agreed with equally wide eyes. If he keeps this up, I'm sure there won't be any trace of the kingdom left. Panther Lily said. Well, if that dragon wants to kill himself, then he can do that on his own. Carla said. Dear God, he could destroy Crocus. Yukino said. Amazing. The sound of dragons dying is such a wonderful melody to my ears. Cobra said as he, the other slayers, and the earth dragon they were fighting stopped when they felt the dragon fire's heat. What do you expect, they are fighting against Acnologia, our greatest enemy even now. In the 600 years that I have been alive, I have never seen Acnologia lose a fight. Not even in Caligon the Destroyer or the other dragons that were under that man's control can hold a candle to the black dragon of the apocalypse when he goes all out, besides Tadawaki, the almighty cataclysm. The dragon said. Acnologia was in the air, mouth glowing red from the amount of flames he had released from his mouth. Is that all 18 dragons can do when they team up against me? I am Acnologia, the Black Dragon King of the Apocalypse. My flames are the most powerful to have ever been created. Acnologia said as he swung his tail and crushed the skull of a dragon that was attempting to sneak attack him from above now that the flames were gone, killing it where it fell to the ground. When the smoke cleared, it showed 16, now 17, dead dragons, while the last 2 were on the verge of death. Pitiful that you all attacked me and you all died due to a little bit of fire. And to think you called yourselves a dragon before you died. Acnologia said. He then looked up to see 80 dragons surrounding him. Come and do your worst. Acnologia roared as flames filled his mouth once more. Acnologia is then bombarded by the combined efforts of the last dragons and their roars. When they are finished, are then blown away. Is that the best you can do? Acnologia roars as he charges the dragons. He draws back a fist and gives a right punch to a dragon before he swings his tail at another dragon, knocking it down several meters before he socks another dragon with his other fist. Rearing his head back, Acnologia headbutts another dragon as he simultaneously smacks another with his tail again. Turning around, he bites another dragon on the arm and tears it off before striking it with a hard right hook, sending it away. He then releases an iron dragon roar at a dragon, driving it back before it emerges from the beast's back as it drops dead before he swivels his head in every direction, all the while breathing out thick shards of iron. This causes the dragons that surround the black dragon to retreat out of the breath attack's range before they get killed. When they are several yards away, he smells a dragon coming at him from above and barrel rolls out of the way before covering his right hand in lightning. Reiryu no Reikiri, lightning dragon's lightning blade. Acnologia calls out and plunges the hand encased in electricity through the dragon's back and out the chest, killing it. Acnologia ignores the dragon as it falls to the ground already dead and charges the dragon horde and starts twisting and turning, punching, clawing, biting and breathing elemental attacks at his enemies. Acnologia roars again as he charges the dragons. He draws back a fist again and gives a punch to another dragon before he swings his tail at another, knocking it down before he socks another dragon with his other fist. Rearing his head back, Acnologia headbutts another dragon as he simultaneously smacks another dragon with his tail. He rips off a dragon's head and claws another dragon's face off. Turning around, he grabs another dragon and rips out its throat, killing it. Suddenly a dragon tackled Acnologia and they crashed into the ground, causing the city to shake. With your death the world is as good as ours, the dragon roared. However, much to the dragon's horror, this doesn't faze Acnologia as Acnologia punches the dragon, causing it to fall off of him. Grabbing it around the throat, Acnologia chokes it before speaking as he lifts the choking beast into the air while it tried to free itself from the grasp the black dragon had on its throat. It was very courageous of you to try to kill me, but I'm afraid that your time is up, Acnologia said, and plunges his free claws into the dragon's chest before it rips out the beast's heart and dropping it to the ground. Who's next? Acnologia roars as he takes to the skies again to fight his longtime enemy. He then tackled a dragon around its waist, opening his jaw wide before biting down the dragon's head, crushing the beast's skull and killing it, and then released the dragon's bloody corpse as it slowly fell down to the ground and turned his head around, opening his jaw around at the same time. Acnologia gathered some magic in between his jaws. He then fired a beam at the dragons flying on the sky, blowing their wings and bodies apart. Some managed to survive after this, but some were fatally wounded by the powerful attack. Incredible, Arcadius muttered as he witnessed the power far surpassed anything he had ever seen in his life. See, Acnologia has it handled, Happy said to the king. Get them, Acnologia. A guard yells, take them out. Another yelled out, I'm rooting for you, Acnologia. A third yelled, you're the dragon of dragons, Acnologia. A fourth guard yelled. Rearing his head back, Acnologia releases another sea of flames, but instead of letting it form into a fireball, Acnologia starts to spin. Faster and faster he goes until a tornado of flames forms, sucking in anything it could grasp in its pull. Lightning starts to spark off it, striking the flying dragons, ground, metal. Water from a lake starts to spin into the tornado surrounding it, causing some steam to roll off of it. The earth starts to crumble where a group of large boulders are pulled into the air and into the elemental vortex. What is that? Lucy gawked as she saw the elemental tornado. Oh my God, Hisui mutters. Amazing, Acadios said in awe. The dragons in the sky are having trouble resisting the pull of the elemental inferno of what appeared to be literal hell, but some weren't successful in escaping. When the burning whirlwind dies down, a circle of burned earth is all that is left, with several piles of dragon skeletons that are still smoking from the heat. Acnologia ignores the skeletons and charges his prey. I won't stop until you're all dead. The dragon roars as he decapitates a dragon with his tail. Swinging his tail again, he cuts off another dragon's arm before he launches several quick punches to the same dragon's chest and face, pushing him back a little as Acnologia rears his head back and releases his breath attack at a dragon. The dragon barely manages to dodge the attack, while the attack explodes in the clouds, lighting up the sky once again. Acnologia charges a dragon and tackles it to the ground. Raising his head, he quickly brought it down on the downed dragon's chest and grabbing the heart of the dragon and ripped it out. Jumping back in the air, Acnologia starts to charge the last 30 dragons. We're almost done, and when I am done with all of you, I will mount your heads along the city. Acnologia roared out. Acnologia rears his head back and releases his breath attack at the dragon, point blank killing it. The dragon next to the one he just killed manages to barely dodge the attack, while the attack explodes in the clouds, lighting up the sky once again. Acnologia rips off a dragon's head and throws the head at another dragon, dazing it. He then slashes the dazed beast's throat, killing it as well. Acnologia ignores the dragon as it falls to the ground already dead and charges the dragon horde once more, intent to kill them all before dawn. Turning around, he bites another dragon and rips out its throat, killing it. He then releases another fire dragon's roar at a dragon, driving it back before it emerges from the beast's back as it drops dead before he swivels his head in every direction, all the while breathing out a sea of flames. This causes the dragons surrounding the black dragon to retreat out of the breath attack's range, while a few get killed by the deadly flames. When they are several yards away, he smells a dragon coming at him from above and barrel rolls out of the way before it could tackle him down from behind and smacks it on the back of his head with his tail. He goes to turn around but is tackled by a dragon, causing the two dragons to crash through several buildings. "Dear God, when is this going to end?" Toma muttered. Acnologia stabs the dragon that tackled him in the chest with his tail before throwing it off him and leaping the air. He clashes with another dragon and ends up crashing back into the ground. Where did they go?" Happy asked. "I can't answer that," Arcadius told the cat. The ground suddenly shakes hard, causing them to go wide-eyed when they realized he was underground fighting a dragon. Several pillars of fire and energy erupts from the ground before the attacking dragon emerges from the earth, quickly followed by Acnologia. The dragon releases a lightning breath attack which Acnologia dodges. The attack hits the ground, causing a large explosion. Acnologia emerged from the cloud of smoke before he looked at the now clear area, seeing the dragon glaring at him. RRRRRAAARRGGGGHHHHHH. Acnologia roars at his foe, which causes the dragon to roar right back at him. In anger for not killing him. Acnologia rushes the dragon and tackles it to the ground next to the earth dragon, causing another earthquake. Ichia, ace of the Blue Pegasus Guild, just yells out, "Hot damn, what was that?" in shock. Jenny looks to the left and her eyes widen in shock. "It's Acnologia," she stutters out. "Acnologia is helping well, I'll be," Hibiki says in awe. Acnologia cuts the dragon's head off with his hand before he looks at the stone dragon and swings his tail down on its neck and crushes, killing it in the process before he takes to the skies once more. He really is the dragon of the apocalypse. Wendy mutters as she watches the black dragon kill his enemies ruthlessly. "Well, that was something. To take on so many enemies on his own is unlike anything I have ever seen," Ren says, watching the dragon pick up where his fight with the remaining dragons, which now numbered 12 in total. Tatawaki, who hadn't moved from his perch on the castle tower, watches the black dragon kill the dragons before he takes to the skies to fight Acnologia to test the human turned dragon. "Look," Happy says, pointing to the large dragon. "He's on the move," Arcadios says as he had been watching the dragon for the past 3 hours. In the sky near the castle, Acnologia and Tatawaki finally engaged in the battle of pure power. Slamming into each other and tried to attack every single time they had the chance, creating shockwaves that were so strong that not even the other dragons could approach them. "Acnologia," Tatawaki said as he looked at Acnologia as he slammed his head into the black dragon, knocking them back slightly. "It's been a while," the beast said to him. "It's been far too long," Acnologia said as he smirked while he regained balance and prepared for another breath attack. But Tatawaki was far different from the other dragons due to the fact he was the most powerful, as it's dodged the beam almost too easily. "And here I thought you're not interested in my power," Acnologia said as he wrapped his tail around the bigger monster and tried to bite his head, only to be thrown down to the ground by its larger hands. "I'm here to kill you," the dragon said with a wide smirk. "Simple as that," Tatawaki told him. "And yet the mighty dragon bowed before a mere human when he was alive. That is pathetic," Acnologia taunted before dodging a quick breath attack from the Dragon King. Also used his wings to shield the people watching the fight on the ground as well. "Is that all you got?" Acnologia asked tauntingly with a wide smirk. "I bow to no one," Tatawaki roared, creating a shockwave that shook the city to its core. Oh boy, now he was pissed. "After I erase your very existence from this world, then the rest of humanity will follow in your footsteps for such a thing." The dragon roared and blasted Acnologia with a powerful breath attack that sent him across the city before launching him onto the sky. "That lizard is strong," Acnologia said as balanced himself in the air. "And yet I thought I would never be able to find a proper opponent." Now this is entertainment. Acnologia thought as he smirked as he was back in control of his movements. This fight was indeed the perfect thing he was looking for centuries. Ready for round 2? Acnologia roared while Hagain merely nodded his head before charging at the black dragon, roaring, "Come, then and meet your end." At Acnologia, they crashed together where Hagain easily pushes Acnologia back. "God damn it, just how tough are you?" Acnologia gritted his teeth in frustration as he launched another breath attack toward the dragon, colliding with its breath attack and exploded in midair. Tadawaki's strong scales proved to be too much a problem, and he couldn't keep his attention to the Dragon King only when there were so many dragons stepped in to help him and interrupted their battle. Only the dragon-slaying magic can pierce the scale of a dragon. You aren't even a dragon, Acnologia, you are but a human with powers that don't belong to you. Tadawaki said confidently. I am the Dragon Slayer of Dragon Slayers. The mightiest of all the Slayers, and besides that, look at the number of dragons I killed today. Acnologia said as he glared at Tadawaki. Acnologia. Lucy cried out as she ran at him, holding a small brown book in her hand. What are you doing, you stupid girl? He snapped at her as he used both of his hands to stop a pair of dragons that had noticed Lucy and chose to attack her. Run. Go get out of here now. He roared and broke the dragon on his left's neck with all of his might before sending the other flying away with a heavy punch. We found a way to send the dragon back to the past. If the gate is destroyed now, we can change the future and Rogue has no way of coming to the past, none of this would ever happen. Lucy cried out to him, but we lack the power to destroy the gate. Do you think that you can blow it apart? She asked him. Of course I can, I'm a dragon. Acnologia said as he turned his head and gathered his energy and aiming at the Eclipse Gate, get away from the gate. Oh, but before he could do anything, Tadawaki lunged at him from behind and slammed his head down to the ground. Kya. Lucy cried out as she was knocked away because of the shockwave. Acnologia. She said in worry. Oh no, you don't. We still have a fight to settle here, Acnologia. Tadawaki said with a power-hungry grin. Why you? Acnologia then launched a punch at the dragon face, with enough force to knock him back but could barely scratch his scale. Now Acnologia, Hisui yelled. Kill him. Arcadios cried and Acnologia shot himself out of his crater and launched a powerful punch straight to Tadawaki's jaw, but it only dazes him. Acnologia turned his head around, fired another breath attack, adding more power than any other breath attack he had made before. Die. Acnologia roars. As the attack hits Tadawaki, it exploded, resulting in an enormous dome of blue energy that turned the night into day before the orb was then launched into the air. Did I get him? Acnologia asked himself as he looked up. That attack should have been able to. Damn you. A heavily wounded, but pretty much still alive Tadawaki roared as he flew down and unleashed the biggest and most powerful breath attack anyone had ever seen, that packed enough power to wipe out a large amount of land. Acnologia gathers his own breath attack using some of his energy to match up to Tadawaki the Cataclysm. As the two dragon breath attacks collide, the night turned to day with how bright the explosion was, which was followed by a very powerful shockwave that spread throughout the land. Acnologia was tired now. He had used a lot of his magic to stop that attack and he didn't have much left. He couldn't lose. No, he wouldn't lose. He had to protect Juvia and Jack at all costs. This will be your end. Tadawaki roared and flew down at Acnologia, who was fully prepared for it. Brave words, but they come from the mouth of one soon to be dead. Do your worst, Tadawaki. Acnologia retorted as he took a strong leap into the air and slammed into the incoming dragon of the Cataclysm. Meanwhile, on the ground, Lucy and the spirits were trying to bring down the gate, however it was more trouble than what she had originally thought. That's what I call sturdy. Lucy gasped as she took a break. She had been trying to destroy the gate but it just wouldn't budge, even in the slightest. I didn't think it'd be this unmovable, Taurus commented as he held his axe in frustration. Is that? Yukino gasped and everyone looked up as a dark shape flew right towards them. Viracocha the ice dragon's body crashed next to the gate and made it fall on its back. The gate fell. Happy cried out as he threw his paws into the air. Natsu. Lucy exclaimed as she saw the Dragon Slayer standing over his now defeated opponents. Unbelievable. The dragon was defeated by. Arcadius gasped with shock as he stared at the downed dragon. Natsu, are you okay? Lucy asked as she fluttered up to her partner. Yeah. Natsu nodded his head while looking around. But where is Akno? He began to say. He immediately got his answer when something crashed down to the ground next to him, followed by a massive fist of a dragon that coated in pure crimson energy. A massive shockwave that shook the entire city was created, blowing away almost anything that were around in 200 feet radius. Natsu grabbed Lucy and Happy and covered her away from the energy released from the powerful Iron Fist attack, as Laxus covered the princess and Wendy with his own body, but all of them were soon blown away into the air and landed roughly down to the ground several feet away. Acknowledge-san. Yukino cried, as she saw the man lying on the ground underneath Tadawaki's fist, his face bloody before she was sent away as well. How is that possible? Sting cried out in shock at the sight of the Dragon King. I thought all the dragons were dead. He yelled out in rage. Naruto gritted his teeth in pain and soon coughed up blood as he could feel the bones, organs in his body completely shattered. The dragon sure knew how to take its opportunity to take him down. When Aknoliga decided to lower his guard and turned away when his body started glowing, thinking that there was no point of fighting when Hagane was going to return to the past again, thinking that one of the Slayers destroyed the gate, it launched a breath attack directly at his body and cut his connection with his transformation, refusing to return to the past with sheer power alone if that was what was happening. To think. Naruto smirked at the gigantic dragon. You're able to resist the power of something like that, Tadawaki. You really are a monster, he said. He gritted his teeth as Tadawaki slammed another fist down his body. I will have to give you credit, foolish human. Not even my own hatchlings were able to leave this much damage on my body when I taught them to fight. You sure are something else. Tadawaki said as he smirked, but then again, you're just that. A mere human can never be able to defeat a dragon. The dragon said to the man as he tried to crush him underfoot to end the world. Well, when you don't have any proper fight like this in years, shit happens. Naruto smirked and closed his eyes as his body was then wrapped in energy again, and his dragon form materialized with his mouth opened wide for a massive breath attack. His hands grabbed Hagane's wrist to stop him from escaping, but then again, a mere dragon can never be able to defeat me, the last true descendant of Merlin. Acknowledgia roared out before he then launched the attack into Hagane's gut and sent him into the air while crying out in pain. The black dragon stood up as the breath attack exploded several miles away from them. Looking left, he grabbed a bent beam and jumped into the air heading to Hagane's falling body before slashing his makeshift sword in a swing toward the neck of the dragon, removing his head from his body. The former Dragon King's body and its separated head crashed down in a loud boom, and Acknowledgia soon returned to the ground as well and allowed himself to stand tall with the bloody beam in his hand. Chapter end. Thank you.